We did this for good times. Good times. So are you done with the moves?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, part one, but I'm done for at least 2 or 3 weeks.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
then
like cruising. Dog is down in Woodbridge.
No, actually, my friend, the one that stayed with, that he stayed with yesterday, I was like, all right, I'm coming to pick him up and take him down to Woodbridge. She's like, why so far? My sister lives. She said 1 day. Like, I don't want to put this on you. She's like, just get him on Friday.
Yay!
And like, I never felt so excited to sit down and do work. So like, I literally went home and like sent emails, made parent phone calls till about 10 o'clock. Well, yeah, emails until like 10 o'clock. And like, it was the most stress relieving thing I've done all week.
Yeah, sometimes just knocking it out.
Right. And then she's like just sitting there. We're supposed to like catch up on Instagram, and he's just like, "I'm doing this all night." Yeah, I've been dying to do this. Yes, absolutely.
I know, it was like 9:30 last night. I was like, yeah, I'm not done yet. And then I fell asleep, like on the couch. It was rough, but yes, Fawn fell asleep with the Get Better Faster book on her face one night, she said. I was like, oh man, good times.
Yeah.
Hey, ready?
Oh, yeah.
Just computer fun, computer joy.
I am missing like 4 or 5 laptops, so I just swept
Joy, if that's what you want to call it.
Swept all the rooms and office, so
Oh
I don't
wow.
really know what
And they're very heavily labeled.
Yes, sweet babies. All right, y'all, we'll dive in so we can get out of here. I know we're starting a little bit late, so we'll try and stick right to 5:45 if that works.
Sure.
Cool. So we're gonna look at, again, 5.3 today. And then specifically this way back here, but the drag and drop question that they had on that exit ticket a few days back.
Okay.
It's buried up in here, but it was this one right here.
Yep.
Cool. So it was way back there. But we're gonna look at, first we'll just start again with the standard. This is like the second or third time that we've looked at the standard in particular. But just reminding, last week we named it, you call it interactions?
Yeah.
Yeah, interactions, relationships. It's like the cause and effect standard, if you will. But if you wanna just look over it really quickly just to refresh your memory. And then just thinking about like what is it that kids need to show mastery of to get to this level on the standard.
They need to be able to explain how one thing essentially affects another.
Mm-hmm.
Or how one person plays their thing affects another.
And I think it's important to point out it's like individuals, events, ideas, or concepts. So it can literally go any which way here. And then, so sometimes you'll be reading a question, you're like, wait, is this 5.3? But it's like any type of thing, like how did this concept relate here? How did this idea
Seems pretty
relate here? Yeah, it kind of encompasses everything, but overall it's like the relationship cause and effect standard. And then if you just keep flipping, this is the, I pulled the actual question, aligned exactly to yesterday's exit ticket with the drag and drop and the standard. So this will be number 1 that the kids see on ANET on Tuesday. They'll see actually 2 drag and drops. So today we're gonna look at the standard, but also really look at this lens of the question, because drag and drop questions are quite complex for kiddos. So just if you wanna take a second and look at the question, this one, and then they flip to the next one, these 2 questions kids will see on Tuesday for ANET next week. So again, we're both talking about the standard, but also the skill of like dragging and dropping ideas in this kind of format. What do you notice is like, what did you do as an adult to try and approach this? Because that's what we're going to try and unlock today.
For me, I, like for each piece of evidence, for the first one, I labeled which one matches with found the key versus unlock Helen's mind. So once I actually read them all first.
Okay.
And then I matched each one to each of the...
So you went bottom, top?
Yes.
Okay. And so I think just listing those steps and remembering those, like read them both first and then match bottom to top. Nate, did you want to add any?
Yeah, I also took the approach of reading all of them first because in isolation, like they're pretty, like found the key and unlocking Helen's mind, but like there's a lot of overlap there. Like like they don't solidly follow into one, but in relationship to each other, and doing the like what do these have in similar together? What do these two have similar together? So that's how I approached it.
Okay, cool. And these are different. Like this is a standard 4 and this is standard 2, but the same type of like idea of kids interacting with like that skill, I think is going to be a big thing that we look at on top of the standard work that we've done. So that's ANET, and then if you want to flip one more time, we're not going to really talk about these, but I pulled, I think 4 or 5 different types of the questions kids will actually see on Park with the same type of thinking. And so I want to just make sure we have a strategy for kids, not only with the standard, but this type of thinking. Because I feel like the drag and drop is its own like type of like thinking that we need to break down for kiddos. Yeah. So if you want to just take a second and look at the multiple, like some of them are terrifying, like huge, and kids get to them and they're like, I don't know. Right. And so today we're going to start like an entry point of like how do we even attack these types of questions. So if you want to take 2 minutes and just go through, there are 5 different questions I pulled. We'll just take 2 minutes to look through, like is there a trend in the skill that you would approach this as an adult?
I started like marking the answers because I remember 3 years in a row now. This is new.
for time, we'll just go ahead and start. Like, as an adult, what would your approach be to attacking this type of thinking? And again, I put the standards for all of these questions. Only this one was related to the standard we're talking about, but it's this type of thinking that is really what we're going to see in the kids' work today. So what did you notice overall? Like, what was your general attack or approach?
For each of them, I noticed I still like read all of the possible choices first. And then, depending on which one is which, I started to match each answer choice with ideally the reading. So I would look for, in this first one, I would look for where the author put the reader in the role of the penguin. I would skim each article for that.
And go back.
Hey, I'm sorry. Can I just grab Sean real fast? Connor wants to talk.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. What did you put, Nick? Or
Well,
what do you think?
I broke it down by keywords, and I mean, I read all of them and underlined the most important parts, like rescuer's point of view, role of the penguin. Those are both point of view ones. And I, like where to specifically hunt for it. For instance, the beginning of the article, that's a key point of where I should go to look for that. Immediate present, that's about tense. So like just I jotted down the things that I need to pay attention to in each one, so that I could go and find them.
Go back to the text.
Go back into,
Find
yeah,
them.
of course, yeah, go back into the text and find it. Although, it should be said, that's the next step, is going back to that text. Yeah. And the other one was, again, read through all of them and then had to make sense of like this diagram, and as soon as I understood it, like, it's just linear.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I broke it down by that and just went, all right, what's the cause? The response then popped out to me because that was clear, and the other three were very
Easy to go in there.
Yeah.
So on this one, you went from the more of like the claim first, then the evidence. This one was a little bit different, I think.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember how I like initially got to this, but my approach, once I read the instructions, I didn't just jumped in. I
Yeah.
should have read the instructions first.
No, but that right there, kids do think like
Yeah.
they will just start and like giving them some type of an approach to do these, because like I'm like watching kids take this, they will just start dragging.
Right.
Like even the knowledge that we've had right here of like we read them all first, and then we kind of went with one, and then we went back to the text, like that kind of like we keep saying the same things, and that's what we're gonna see in a second. With like the strategy to approach this.
Yeah.
Did you see this one, the point of view impact?
I started reading that.
Take a second and look at this one, because this is like got multiple. Like, and think about like your lowest
I'm gonna change
baby.
my approach right now and do the yeah.
But think about your lowest kid and like what would they, when they're going to see this, like how would they go to approach this and attack it?
Okay. Oh, yeah, it is definitely cut off text.
Yeah, I didn't put the text on there, but just looking at, like from what you have, how you would approach this, and what makes this one even more complex.
Well, not having the rest of the text to go off of, I think probably the most frustrating part of this is like the directions say drag and drop one quotation that provides evidence for each description to complete the chart. Like, are we using all of them?
Yeah.
Or are we not? Like,
this is an actual park released item too, and this is what our kids, like just being able to read this question and understand it.
Yeah.
But
it's a little convoluted, and the reading itself, like in paragraph 3, like no plans, no least possible pain and humiliation scheming, like 5 words hyphenated all together.
Very complex text.
Yeah.
And this was an actual like released item, but this this question has like multiple levels of, it's 2 characters, so it's not just a straight up like the ones that like we're giving and that they're even seeing on ANET. Like this is even more rigorous than what we've been giving in ANET. So it's like the multiple like 4 layers. We were just talking about this big baby right here, this one. Isn't it nasty?
Yeah, I think
Double.
I was like, oh, it's like bump, bump. It's a lot. Yeah.
I think it's important to move from like left to right in this, like sequentially in both ones. Like obviously, possible description, and drag that to where it goes. But starting with description, narrator's feeling, like in the context of, all right, how's the narrator feeling? Let me go back to the possible descriptions and try to see with that lens, like how's the narrator feeling? Drag that down, then use the supporting evidence, and do that for narrator, and then if you can cleanly draw the distinction between the 2.
Yeah. And so what we kind of stamped when you were out was that all of us kind of were saying we read them first, and then after that we went to the bottom or to like the details, and then we found a point that we'd go back to the text for with that lens of like 1 in your mind. Anything else you wanted to add to that? Like any other steps you saw a pattern in?
No, that's pretty much what I had.
And I saw you writing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for time, we can go ahead and flip these. I just wanted to keep these in your mind because these, like this level of complexity is what we're gonna build up to from these on ANET. And we can see how these on ANET and the ones that we've been giving are rigorous, but not, like they're not close to the rigor of like this monster baby that we'll see on Park. So just keeping that in your mind that we're gonna slowly build up the complexity up to these. And then let's actually dig into how your kids did on this drag and drop. So if you want to just take like 30 seconds and refresh your memory. The printer, I highlighted in yellow if they got it correct. That's the green ones. But this is the exemplar, and just thinking about what like knowledge of the standard did kids need to answer this question, but really focused on like the close reading skill of the drag and drop and going back to the text. What did they need to be able to answer this question?
I think I've got these all out of order.
It's okay. Yeah, this one. It's the exemplar one in the
Oh, the
previous
exemplar.
page. Yeah. So one thing to point out is that these are actually direct quotes from the text. They weren't like, they were missing the quotation marks when they made the question. But this is like directly from the text. And these were just the subtitles and subcategories. I didn't do this one as much.
Oh.
My focus was on here too.
Okay.
All right, what do you guys think?
In terms of what they need to read it is like, again, they need to read like all of them, but as they read through them, I think it's more of a process elimination tactic down the road to like if they're struggling to figure out which topic they fit under. But for the close reading skills during the first read through is like understanding the context of that quotation, of what the content is inside there and where that plainly goes.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for
Yeah.
at all.
I also said, since these are direct quotes, they need to match this quote with directly what they read in the text.
And this was a 66% overall. And so when I looked at this exit ticket, it was like these were the subtitles, and they literally just had to find where it came from. And so this was less rigorous than, and we didn't like make this, I'm not saying anything about that, but like they literally just had to like find where the sentence was under the title. This wasn't like, usually these are like a different idea.
Use the
It was
handout?
literally matching.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, but any of the
Yeah, this is a
tickets.
hunt and click
Yeah.
sort of
It's like literally every kid should have been able to
go back.
just go back. So what does that tell you if we're at a 66%?
They're not going back.
Yeah, that's it. Like
GBITT.
give it. That's it. It's give it. Wait for it. Ta-da! yes. And so I was excited to see this because I was like that is it right there. If this is just a subtitle
Yeah.
and no thinking involved, you just have to hunt, like that's the lever, that's what they're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to pair that plus the level of rigor they're going to see on part and like give them a strategy to go in on, which will be fun.
Yeah.
Because you guys like stamped that right here, we don't need to look at the medium student work, but if you want to just like briefly look, I put medium and low there. And most kids were able to get at least 3 out of 4. But there were several kids that got 1, maybe 2.
Which means they flat out did
Just didn't come back like all you did. And like someone else wrote this exit ticket, and when I did it, I was like, oh,
It's easy.
I just have to like literally find the sentence.
Right.
It's a gimme.
Yeah, it's a gimme. And like, so if kids are doing, if only like, if not all of our kids are even doing that, then like these babies are gonna like rock their world.
Yeah.
And so the key misunderstanding there, just to stamp it, is that kids need to go back into the text.
Yes.
For all text-dependent questions, but especially drag and drop, because this level of thinking is wicked hard. So we'll jump straight to how we want to reteach this.
Yes.
Knowing that it was 66% of kids got this correct, like we had 66% mastery, a few options. So we could do like a discourse, putting one up, showing them the text again, or modeling it for them, and just on like a brand new strategy, modeling for them. Where is your head at? Either way is beautiful, but what are you thinking?
feel like since I'm introducing, since we're introducing like an entire new strategy, I want to start from scratch where I model it, and then they also like get practice with another one.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was.
What was the first one? Once you started talking about modeling.
I know, it's late, it's
the
good. Guided discourse would be like where you put up like 2 pieces of student work and you would show and have kids like kind of model through like what was the strength in this one, what was the strength in this one, and let them kind of arrive at their own conclusion. Works a lot better with writing because you can
I was
like,
gonna say
who
this
has the
is
stronger.
right.
And so for this, especially because it's a new strategy, like modeling it and just a straight up like here's your new steps is better. But for writing, discourse is really fun and they can see the difference.
Let's stamp and give it. Let's get that.
Let's give it. All right. So I put the little give it guide here.
Funny to me.
So students like the reteach option, and I wrote out an entire reteach for you that would work for Monday. Again, feel free to like tweak, change, add. Like we can go through this together. But today I want to, since it's everything is right here, I wanted to actually like practice just the model, and then we will be good to go. Okay. So if you just look at the top, the objective would be students will be able to give it, go back into the text to answer questions about relationships between events and places, or just always and forever in general.
Does TDQ mean text-dependent questions?
Text-dependent questions, yeah. And so is there anything that we talked about together that you want to change to these steps? So kind of look at my steps. I tried to make them super, super, super kid-friendly. And I even envisioned like a song, like read to the left, read like some kind of silly thing for them to.
One to stick one? What was that? What was that?
So like a kid-friendly way of like, so they would read the left side first, like left side, like some like little song or something that they always remember, like always read the left side first, right? And then read the bottom evidence twice. So this is the stamp it step of like read everything, right? So read the left side first, read everything on the bottom twice, and then pick one piece of evidence to stick it. Pick one to stick. It doesn't have to be that. I was just trying to make something. These steps seemed really boring when I wrote them out. And I was like, a 5th grader was going to look at this.
I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now the only red flag that kind of comes up in my mind is: are we going to have like any spatial issues in terms of not like they don't know left and right, but like on the test, if we say make sure you look to the left side first, something like that, like. Is it going to be on the left or? No,
that's a good question because a lot of these weren't always like that.
Yeah.
It's like we need a name. If you guys wanted to like name it, it's like the claim or the inference or the tricky part is that this is not always the same.
Yeah. It's like whatever information that the question's giving you.
Yeah. Given. Like read what's given first.
Yeah.
Given and evidence. That fits for all of them. Or like the boxes, like this is given. You want to do given?
Is it always claim and evidence? Is it always like claim paired with evidence or like?
Ish, yeah. Sometimes it'll be like an inference or like an idea from the text.
Or like the narrator's point of view.
The narrators, yeah. But I think what's given is smart. Let's change that. So given. So read what's given. And then read the bottom ones twice. And then giving them the sentence stem I think will be really helpful. Like, what does this evidence prove? Which one of my givens?
Yeah.
Which one of my givens does this prove? Which one does it prove? And then having them repeat this process again and again. And so it'll be like, read the given, go to the bottom, pick one, which one does it prove? Boom. And then this idea of like going back into the text, where would you see that fitting into these steps? And sometimes this is easier when you have the question out. Because looking at this again, I don't like my steps. I feel like I missed a step.
I almost want to put it in between 1 and 2 or between 2 and 3. What does this evidence prove? It can go between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Simply because
Bottom.
my fear is once they pick one and stick one, they're just gonna keep going without even referring to the text,
Yeah.
and they're gonna miss a lot of key information with it. So if we could put it even twice, that may help. So read what's given and then give it. Read the bottom and pick one and stick one, and then give it, and then like.
So it's like a constant interaction.
Yeah.
It's like here, my choice is go back into the text. Here, my choice is go back into the text.
Right.
And like not just going back, but like finding the paragraph. Like all the time I'll see children, it'll say like based on paragraph 5, and they're sitting on paragraph 1.
Right.
And I'm like, I know you're not
You're not looking at the
you're not
text.
giving
Yeah,
me.
and well, I mean, if you shoot for 2 and they only go back once, like maybe that'll increase the odds anyways. But if you do, like especially that point of view one with Claire's, mine, and
The
the
double.
other one, like that's a tricky one. And I feel like the double, like I feel like get it, figure out where that is, and then solidly place it where it needs to go, and then the evidence, whatever you deduce that is, double check it, look at the text, and then bring it back.
So how do we make this kid friendly?
All right. I'm all about the song lyrics.
Yeah.
I'm so
I love it.
theatrical with this. So within some kind of beat. Well, yeah, within some kind of beat.
I like the 3, just like the 3 components. Like look at this part. I don't want to give it. Look at the given part. Pick one piece of evidence. Go back into the text. Repeat. So it's like look at the given. Zoom in on the evidence. Go back into the text. Repeat. That is so not fun or beat friendly.
Right.
But once we figure out like the specifics that you want to push for the reteach, then we can bring all the cutesy stuff after.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So maybe what will help us is I pulled a little text with the same exact thing. So this could be, I pulled for your lesson on Monday. I know they're doing the narrative practice with chapter 7, so I envision this being like a quick 15-minute little model, going back with a fresh text on hermit crabs, because it's a nonfiction text with no context, so they'll truly be able to show you what they can do.
Right.
And you can model on this. Then chapter 7 with Esperanza. And they will be able to like have 2 at-bats with this.
I like it.
And so let's just like quickly look at this one.
So to orient us here, like these are the paragraphs. This is the claim, and we have to link up. So there's 3 claims, and there's 4 bits of evidence.
1 distractor, yeah.
Okay.
And for the sake of time, because this is a fresh text, we might flip it, have this one the one you model. These kids have all read this, and then they can do this one by themselves, so you can get a fresh on demand. And for our own time, let's just do the one for Esperanza, because this was the read aloud today. And so looking at, and I want to actually like think through how we would script this out for kids when we reteach it.
Okay.
So if you want to take a second and like answer the question yourself. Okay, so if we were gonna, I got that right. 103, 105, 111, yeah.
And I noticed how I did it too. Is that, like I mapped it sequentially in my head. Is like I didn't even read all 3 things. Like I understand what I was supposed to do, and so
Yeah.
I was like, Esperanza's ungrateful. Great, I'll start with that. I don't need to carry more information in my head. Esperanza's ungrateful. I'm gonna read all of these with that lens, looking for Esperanza's ungrateful. And then I found that, I put it in, and so that was step 2. Step 3 was reading the second one, going back and scanning the one less that's down there, and then going back up. So it was like a 6-step-ish
A
process.
6-step, what about yours?
I realized that I only give it once, so I put it in between step 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I read each of the givens, and then I looked at each of the bottom choices. I like to call it the answer pool. Look at the answer pool. Ooh,
I like it.
Yes, I'm a poet. Didn't know it. Looked down at the pool. I read it all, and then I took on Nate's step of, all right, now that I know what I'm working with, let me go back to the front. Which one most closely matches with the fact that she's ungrateful?
Yeah.
I need to look back in the text, and then I'm gonna stick it.
So the idea of like picking one
Mm-hmm.
and then sticking, that's kind of where I was going at with like the pick one, like just do the one approach
Yeah.
and then go in and stick everything.
Yeah.
And so let's actually like model this and take a second and like script out, like I'm going to be your child in class, and I want to actually like script out what this will look like. And this will be the last thing before we go.
Sure.
And just do a mini practice of like what this reteach will look and sound like, and how you're going to model it for kids with the steps of 1, read everything, read all.
With the approach of one at a time, we're reading through all of these.
So I think
and
read
going to the
all
top.
of them first, because especially when they get these bigger ones, they'll need to see the whole picture and then pick one.
Read each of them.
Bottom, give it. Yeah. So read all, and then pick one. And then you said you want to put give it in between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So read all of them, pick one, give it, and then stick it. And it kind of friends.
I'm taking this metaphor too far.
You can take it really far, and then kids will start to say, "He didn't give it." Like they'll start to like really get into the like give it. But if they can master this, of like I always go back, because like I always tell kids, like reading tests are not a test of memory. Like go back.
Right.
You can figure out any of like just go back, go back, and they'll get it. Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. So we will just model just your like model think aloud, not the whole obviously lesson where then they would practice with this one and then switch to narrative. So we'll just do the model here, and Nate and I will be your children, and just really think about like your lowest baby and how you're gonna make this make sense to like your lowest baby.
All right. Action. All right, so based off of my steps on the board, number 1, I need to read all of my givens. Listen silently as I read it. My first given is Esperanza is ungrateful. The second one, Esperanza doesn't understand how life has changed. And then the third one, Esperanza is learning to be kind. I read all my givens. I know what I'm looking for. Check. Now, I need to jump down in my pool, or I need to jump in the pool. Remember, that's our answer pool. It has all of our answers in it. So jump in the pool. In order to get in the pool, you gotta go deep. So we need to read it all. We need to
Read it all.
I'm gonna read every single one of them. Now that I've read every single one, I'm gonna pick the first one to see if it matches with any of my givens. Mama, we're living like horses. How can you see? Sounds like she's ungrateful. I'm gonna put a question mark there. I'm gonna keep it in my mind because it really does sound ungrateful. I'm gonna check with the other ones. Esperanza doesn't understand how life has changed. Mama, we're living like horses. That could actually work too, so I'm gonna put a question mark there too. Esperanza's learning to be kind. She just said that they're living like horses. Definitely not it. So I'm gonna go back to the first 2, and in order to pick the right one, I need to check with the text. I need to check with the
Text.
which means I need to give it. Let me look back in this text and figure out, Mama, we're living like horses. How can you sing? How can you be happy? Which one is it best sounding like? she doesn't understand her life has changed, or she's ungrateful. She sounds like she's doing a lot of complaining. So she must be really ungrateful. I'm gonna pick it and stick it. Let me put it up to that first one. I've done the first one, let's go to the next. Repeat. Read all my gifts again. I'm still rich, Isabel. We'll only be here until I believe this well enough to travel. We already have one for she's ungrateful. She doesn't understand her life has changed, or she's learned to be kind. She's definitely not being kind there either. She must really realize that her life isn't changed. And it says that I'm still rich, so I know that her life isn't changed. Pick it and stick it. This third one, when Esperanza finished eating, she went outside and stood at the front step. This isn't connecting to anything dealing with her being nice or kind. So I'm gonna just leave that there and see if the fourth one matches. Esperanza looked down at Sylvia's dirty hands. Then she remembered Mama's kindness and peasant girl on the train and her disappointment to Esperanza. So she's thinking back to the train and how Mama scolded her for not being nice to the peasant girl. So I really need to check with the text to make sure that this is the right one. So I'm gonna give it. Let me go back to that page. I read the whole page and I learned that Esperanza ended up shaking that girl's hand. So this is her learning to be kind. I'm gonna click it in that third one. Yes, sir. Great.
Yay! That was really good. How did that feel like with the steps? Do our steps fit and do they make sense for kids?
Yes, they do. And I'm noticing that the give it is almost like a second layer check to make sure that you're correct. Because if they're doing the other steps correctly, then like they're at 93% in terms of like getting it right. I picked a random number when I said 93, but like.
But there's that like, forgive it for this one is that extra context.
Yeah.
With like the hands, like that is true. Like she does go back and shake the hands, and that's how you know she's being kind. So I think that was a good place to put it. Anything that you wanted to add or anything you noticed as a student?
I thought that was solid. I think it might just depend on the person in terms of like like how much information they can hold in their head. Like I'm looking for grateful, I'm looking for doesn't understand, I'm looking for being kind. So you're scanning each one for those three. And my approach was read the first given. If she's ungrateful, read all these, figure out the best one.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're scanning for one thing, but you're reading all of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So that can be a flip. So yeah, I can approach it that way as well.
Yeah, and I like that. So most times, like when we started looking at it though, the reason I had you do these questions first is because we all went here first. But then for some reason when we want to teach it to kids, we go to the top first. Yeah. I think the approach is giving them both tools is actually perfect. Okay. And in the past, like teaching this, like I've given kids multiple options. Like you can, and same with part B. Like sometimes you do look at the part B first. And you're like, what are these pieces of evidence? What do I have up here? And like sometimes it does make sense to like look at the whole thing first and go from the bottom.
But no matter what, no matter which approach, you gotta give it.
You got
Yes.
it.
Period.
Yeah.
So should I model both? Because I completely agree with that. Like I'm down to model both.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be an information overload?
Say it again.
Is it gonna be like an information overload on them?
I think you could, if you wanted to do both then, I would have another example.
Okay.
And I would even have Mr. O'Connor do his way.
Absolutely.
And have you model yours and your strategy, and you model yours, and then tell kids like which way, like you get really meta with kids, like which way made more sense for you? Do you like to go from the given to the bottom? Because no matter what, they're going back into the text and they're checking multiple things. Or do you like to go from the claims and then just pick one?
Yeah.
And then have them like pick, like I like this way, I like this way. Here's one more at bat, go for it.
Great.
I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I think that would stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because kids do think about it in different ways. And even like I remember doing this with a teacher, like with a coworker, and he and I were the opposite. I was like, no, I go here first. He's like, I do not. I go here first.
Right.
And the children will be the same way. Yeah. But giving them those strategies will be super, super helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like, do you want a good choice A or a good choice B? But either way, you're picking a strategy, and like one of those working.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then no matter what, I would give them, so you could easily do this for Mama.
Yeah.
Mama is unhappy with Esperanza. So the only next step you guys would have would be making a parallel question, a mini tiny one for Mama. So Nate could model that, and then giving them this as like a, now you try it with your strategy, go. And so it's just like a teeny text to pull. It's a, I forget which released item, but it's a released item about hermit crabs. So they get a true at-bat with doing it.
Right.
If they did an at-bat with Esperanza, they might not, it might be skewed because they know the novel so well.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, so just to bring it all back, this could be Monday, like a quick model before you launch into the narrative writing. The big misconception was going back into the text and having a strategy to approach these drag and drop kind of thinking questions. And we have a strategy with a cute little pick it, stick it song.
I like it. I'm so hyped for this.
Pick it, stick it. And then we have 2 different models. You're gonna do the first one, Nate will do the second one, and then you let kids pick and like stamp which one they like, and then they'll get to apply it. And we will look actually at this page to reassess the percentage.
Will this be physical or
I think paper,
on? Okay.
and we can just calculate it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can help you do that because I'll be super excited to see how they do. Okay. And then what's really exciting is the minute they log onto N grade, the very next day for ANET, that'll be number 1.
I like that.
So they'll have a real chance and a strategy before ANET, just one more quick hit to help them feel confident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. I will send this to you right now, so don't forget.
Yay.
And is there anything else that would be helpful?
I just had a question about the format of the ANET with it. I know sometimes last year, if they didn't put it in the correct order or a certain order, like they would be kind of wrong, even though both were there.
Park as well.
Oh, really?
What?
Is that the same thing? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like a glitch in the system.
It never says it in the question. So I was doing a lot of released items last year.
That's
for Park,
cool.
right? It never says that. And so I was doing all these practice tests myself before Park prep, and I was like, why do I keep getting these wrong? And on the Park website, if you do the practice test, it'll just say like 0 out of 1. It won't tell you what you got wrong. And I was like, I know this is like, I know this is right. And I kept doing it and kept doing it. And I was like, wait a second. I think it has to be chronological within the text, which is not asking the question. And that was it.
Yeah.
So I told my children that.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
like, just put them in the order that you found them.
Right.
And you're like, but it doesn't say that. I'm like, guys, but we do what we need to do.
Exactly. I was so upset when I was like doing the live feedback to it, or like the live proctoring, and I'm looking at both answers logged in and still kind of wrong.
Yeah.
That's silly.
And it's an all or nothing. It's on top of that.
Yeah.
So it's like.
That is a.
They're out to get you.
Yeah. That is evil.